Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammang sanghang saranang gacchami. Good evening, dear friends. This is Thursday, September 18, at the Empty Cloud Monastery, and I will speak to you tonight about the sutta usually called Relay Chariots, the Rathavinītasutta, number 24 in the Middle Length Discourses. For the past few weeks, I have been looking for suttas that are related to the threefold training, the training in Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, in ethics, meditation, and wisdom. And I was looking for suttas that have that progressive feature of gradual training where each step leads to the next step, and which give a little bit more meat in the area of wisdom. What is this panya, and how does it develop? How do we get a hold of it? Tonight, my plan is to focus on the story behind this sutta and on the qualities of speech, the 10 excellent qualities of speaking. And then tomorrow morning, I'm going to go into the progressive sequence of 10 kinds of purification that are given in this sutta. I'll start reading. So I have heard, at one time, the Buddha was staying near Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel's feeding ground. Then several mendicants who had completed the rainy season residence in their native land went to the Buddha, bowed down, and sat to one side. The Buddha said to them, "In your native land, mendicants, which of the native mendicants is esteemed in this way? Personally having few wishes, they speak to the mendicants on having few wishes. Personally having contentment, seclusion, aloofness, energy, ethics, immersion, wisdom, freedom, and the knowledge and vision of freedom, they speak to the mendicants on all these things. They are an advisor and counselor, one who educates, encourages, fires up, and inspires their spiritual companions." The mendicants answered, "Pumna, son of Mantani, sir, is esteemed in this way in our native land." Now I'm going to tell you something about the backstory about this Puna Mantani. Puna, the son of Mantani. In Pali, that's Puna Mantani Putta. So Mantani Putta means the son of Mantani. He was born in a wealthy family in a village of Donavatu, which is located near Kapilavatthu. Kapilavatthu is the country where the Sakya king Suddhodana, the father of Prince Siddhartha, who eventually became the Buddha, had the base of his kingdom. So this is in the land where not the Buddha's place of birth, but the place that he was brought up as a boy. This Puna, his name was Puna, his mother's name was Mantani. Now, it so happened that Mantani was the sister of Ayyā Kondanya. Who knows who Ayyā Kondanya is? Raise your hands if you know. Yeah? Do you know? You should know. Okay. Kondanya was the youngest of the 8 wise men who had been called to the christening ceremony of Prince Siddhartha when he was an infant. And he was one of the group who made the prediction that this child will one day become the Sama Sambuddha. And then, fast forward 35 years, Kondanya was the eldest of the 5 ascetic companions who listened to the Buddha's first sermon, the Dhammacakkappavattana in Isipatana, the Deer Bark at Sarnath. So while listening to that sutta, Kondanya obtained stream entry. He said everything that arises because of conditions will cease. That was his eye, opening the eye of Dhamma, the stream entry. And because of that, he was ordained. He was given the name by the Buddha, Ayyā Kondanya, meaning Kondanya who has understood. And he was then ordained by the Buddha and became the first bhikkhu to be ordained by the Buddha. So that was the beginning of the bhikkhu sangha. So then, shortly thereafter that, the Buddha taught the Anattalakkhana Sutta, the sutta on the characteristic of non-self. And with that, Kondanya and the other 4 monks became fully enlightened arahants. On becoming an arahant, Ayyā Kondanya saw through his mental powers that his sister's son, Puna, had accumulated enough merits to become a monk and obtain arahanthood by realizing the Buddha's teaching. And furthermore, he saw that one day his nephew will become clever in teaching the Buddha's Dhamma. At this point, Ayyā Kondanya had already decided that he would prefer to spend the rest of his monk life meditating in a faraway forest. But before leaving to live in the forest, he went back to Donavatu and, with the consent of the parents, ordained Puna as a monk, with himself as the teacher, as the Acharya. And then Venerable Puna Mantanaputta began his training with his uncle, the Arhat, Ayyā Kondanya, as his teacher. On the day after ordaining Puna, Ayyā Kondanya decided to leave Kapilavatthu and go and visit the Buddha, who at that time was living in Rajagaha. He wanted to get permission to depart and to go live in this forest. So it's believed that he spent the rest of his life after that, until his passing away, residing there in that forest. The Venerable Punyamantaniputta had a chance to go and see the Buddha, but he felt it would be better to wait and go and visit and pay homage after he had been successful in becoming an arhat. So he stayed behind and made a great effort. He eradicated all the mental defilements. He became fully enlightened arhat bhikkhu. Then, just after that, 500 householders in the city of Kapilavatthu ordained as Buddhist monks with Punamantaniputta as the teacher. And Punamantaniputta subsequently is named as one of the 80 notable bhikkhus in the Buddhist dispensation, and he was named as the one who was the foremost in teaching the Dhamma. So this is especially significant for me because I like teaching the Dhamma. I like speaking about the Dhamma and conversing about the Dhamma. It's one of the most beneficial ways that I feel that I'm able to make progress. So his example is something that I feel motivated to try to live up to this example. And I think that when you listen to his qualities as a Dhamma teacher, you might be inspired to think that when you listen to Dhamma talks and when you go to see the various monastics, go to see the bhikkhus and the bhikkhunis, and to obtain advice from them, you could remember this list and you could check it off in your mind and say, well, does this monk seem to have these qualities? And do they seem to teach about the Dhamma in this way? And if they do, then you might really make the effort to find a chance to spend more time listening to that teacher, to that bhikkhu or bhikkhuni. I will also mention this is orientated for bhikkhus or monastics who are in their role as teachers. But I remember a sentence quoted by the modern teacher Ajahn Chah. He said, the whole world is teaching us. So even somebody who's not a bhikkhu can still teach something. Even somebody who's not enlightened can still teach something. Even if a person is setting a bad example, they're still teaching something because they're showing you what not to do when you see their bad example. But when you see the good example, or when you see the sincerity of anybody who's a seeker after the truth, who's trying to be established and to follow this path of Dhamma, we can take the inspiration, and you know that you yourself can be an inspiration to others. Sometimes people, like if they've been on retreat, or if they've got the interest in ordaining, and they have to go back and get permission from their parents about getting them the monastic ordination, if that's something they'd like to do. But the parents might not be Buddhists, and or the parents might not be even approving or comfortable with this Buddhist path because they don't understand, they don't know about it. But I always feel that somebody who's heard some Dhamma, who's started to experience the transformation from just the beginning of the transformation by listening to the Dhamma, when you manifest the change in your character, that's the teaching you can give to the people who know you before. When you manifest being more calm, being more kind, being more discreet, speaking more carefully, being more selective on what you get involved with. All of those things are powerful, powerful teachings for the whole world. So all of us can be teachers, not just fully enlightened arahants, and not just bhikkhus or bhikkhunis. But to continue this background story, Punamantaniputta made this determination to become enlightened. He became enlightened. He quickly gained all these teachers, these students, these disciples. And he used to practice these 10 forms of wholesome speech in instructing these pupils. And that's the 10 that I listed off. We're going to go over these more. Possessing these qualities, he spoke about these qualities. This list is given here in this sutta. Some similar lists are given in other places, not necessarily this complete list, but this exact list of 10 qualities is given in the Anguttara Nikaya 10.70. It's in the Book of 10, so this is 10 things. And so this is the second sutta about ways to speak. I'm just going to finish the background. So they received this instruction. Then those 500 monks all meditated with effort, and they all became arahants. Having become arahants, then they decided it was time finally for them to go and pay visit and pay homage to the Buddha. And they approached Punamantaniputta, advised that that's what they wanted to do, and requested for him to take them to see the Buddha. But Mantaniputta felt he didn't want to go with him at this time. He felt coming, I think he must have felt coming at the head of this vast Sangha of 500 monks would appear sort of arrogant, or sort of conceited, or something like that. And instead, he advised the students to go see the Buddha, to bow, worship at the Buddha's feet in his name, and to say that, and he will visit the Buddha later, after those 500 monks visit. So at that particular time, now we're coming into this story, the Buddha was staying in the bamboo grove in the squirrel's feeding ground. It says in the sutta, several mendicants who've completed their rainy season residence bowed and sat down to one side. That's the 500 students of Punamantaniputta. And then the Buddha, with his divine eye, he knew about the qualities of Puna. And then he asked them this question: in your native land, do you have any native monk who's esteemed in this way, personally having few wishes? They speak on having few wishes, personally having contentment, seclusion, and so forth. Do they speak, and do they fire up and inspire their companions? And so this was kind of like a leading question, because he was exactly describing Puna. And they answered, Puna, Sanamantani, sir, is esteemed in this way in our native land. Now, at that time, Sariputta was present at that meeting, sitting not far from the Buddha. And he thought, Puna Sanamantani is fortunate, so very fortunate, in that his sensible spiritual companions praise him point by point in the presence of the teacher. in the teacher's second set appreciation. Hopefully, sometime or other, I'll get to meet this Venerable Puna so we can have a discussion. The Buddha stayed there in Rajagaha as long as he wanted to. Then finally he returned to Savatthi, to the Rathavinītasutta monastery. And then while he was there, finally Punamantaniputa came to visit. So he had walked all the way from Kapilavatthu to Rajagaha. And it says in a commentary that the Buddha taught him that same sutta about the 10 kinds of right speech. And then Puna took leave. He went to the blind man's grove to spend the afternoon, waiting in silence by the foot of a tree. And then Venerable Sariputta came to him, and they had a conversation. So the conversation with Venerable Sariputta, I'm going to speak about soon, tomorrow. But now I want to speak to you more about these qualities which cause a monk to be esteemed. So it's quite important, the format, to be a proper Dhamma teacher. One should aim to personally possess the qualities that we speak about. Otherwise, it's actually dangerous to speak about qualities that you don't have, pretending as if you have these qualities. That would almost be verging on dishonesty. But it is very well to speak about what you have realized directly for yourself as a teacher. To the extent that you've realized that you know it, speaking about how you've realized it in your own way, and then to also speak about what the Buddha said about it and what you have came to understand from the explanations that are to be found in the canon and the commentaries about what the significance is. When speaking about something that's a quotation from the teaching that you've heard and learned and reflected upon and pondered about, that can be reported as what you've heard, what you've learned, what you've memorized, what you've pondered about, what you've reflected about, and what you have realized to the extent that you've realized it. you can speak of it in that way. This fewness of wishes is called apicca. Ichati is wishing, and apicca is having few wishes, so not having a desire and greed, and not wanting what's over on the things that you don't have, the things that somebody else has. If you see that other monasteries are have beautiful matching robes, and our monastery, the robes are sort of random and old and mismatching, then you don't say, well, our monastery everybody should have beautiful new matching robes or something like that. That would be like the opposite of few wishes. Or if you receive some dana, and then you saw that somebody else got something nicer, you wouldn't want to like throw away the perfectly good dana that you got and get something else that's nicer. Or you also would not want to give praise and reputation and respect that you don't deserve. So the whole idea of that's the idea of not wishing, not coveting the things that you don't have already. And then very similar to that is personally having contentment, which is called santucci. So that is described as contentment, and that means being satisfied with whatever one has or what one has received. So it's said that the way that a bird is only needs to carry the burden of its own two wings, so the monk who is satisfied with just having the robes to cover his body and some food to take care of the belly, that's enough, that he's not desiring for anything more. Beyond that, he's content with just those two things. And it also means being contented with the situation at a given moment of time. So it could be that right now, like the body is got some aches and pains, and so you can just be contented. It's just the way the body is right now. It could be that the situation is not comfortable. You can be contented with that. Or it could be that even something comes along that's not the thing that you wish for, like somebody could insult you or disrespect you or something like that, or somebody could not pay attention, or the students could fall asleep during the Dhamma class, and then you can just be contented. It is what it is. You're just perfectly contented. So no disturbance based on having those wishes. Okay. The next one is one should possess seclusion. This is called paviveka. This teaching is very much developed in the sutta about emptiness. So the first level is bodily seclusion. So if a monk chooses not to live in a crowded, busy place with lots of people and lots of activities and many people coming in and going all the time, not living in the village, or not living together with your family, not living with all your relatives, but instead leaving the busyness of the town and going to the emptiness of the forest to be away from the town for a time. This doesn't mean that a monk will never go to the village or never speak to people, but it means that they will give themselves physical seclusion that they need to develop the other levels of seclusion. The citta viveka, that's called mental seclusion, and that is the purification of the mind by gaining a freedom from the hindrances during meditation. And then the highest form of seclusion is called upadi viveka, and that means nibbana. Upadi is related to upadana. Upadi is attachments. So attachment is what we're trying to lose when we have finally lost all of our attachment to anything, when we're not clinging to anything, not grasping anything, including especially not grasping on anything that we identify as being the self, then we would have obtained that final freedom. When a person has that upadi viveka, that seclusion from grasping, then they can be anywhere, and it doesn't really matter. So they can be in the town, they can speak to people. The mind would not be harmed by being around people, by being in touch with people. Nevertheless, for the sake of pleasant abiding in the here and now, very frequently those who are good monk teachers would have the inclination towards solitude as times to refresh and rest. Related to that is something called sangsaga, which is translated here as aloofness. That's not being gregarious. I think they say some people are people who have an extroverted personality type. When they're around a lot of people, it sort of feeds them and energizes them and brings them a pleasure, as opposed to introverted people who being around a lot of people is stressful for them and drains away their energy and is unpleasant feeling. But even somebody who's got that gregarious temperament would learn to avoid excessive, trivial, gregarious hanging about and idle socializing with people. It's traditionally explained as not associating with the opposite sex, because if you do that, you might become attached. A monk who's following the Vinaya would have given up romantic connections with the opposite sex, or romantic connections with anybody, whatever gender or type of person they're attracted to. If they've really gone beyond that, then they wouldn't have this danger. But people are human, and if they've not gone beyond the potential to develop a romantic inclination towards people, then they should keep whatever distance they need to keep in order to be safe. we've seen so many scandals about religious clergy who engage in misconduct and exploitation, whether it be of the gender or sometimes the exploitation of children. And this comes about by monks who have not attained that kind of seclusion from grasping. They haven't realized the happiness that arises from being secluded from sense pleasures. So they don't have access to the other kind of happiness, the happiness connected with meditation. And this is just my personal opinion. I've known a lot of clergy in my life of many different groups. And if you're not on the track with the spiritual quest, but you don't have the courage to give up being a clergy and just go back to lay life, then you can have people who are just hanging out as a clergy, doing service and making merits. So they just work all the time to do merits, and they try to pray, they try to meditate, but they're not getting the real consolation of the spiritual life because somehow they just haven't been successful in catching hold of it. And that's a very lonely kind of existence, and someone like that can be vulnerable to falling in love because they just need some happiness, and it's an easy way to be happy, and it's because of that danger that the Buddha has prescribed this aloofness, this non-association. There's a discussion that's clarified here. There's something over at Sutta Central. They have the discussion platform in the discourse section of Sutta Central. And the question is what the Buddha said to Ananda about women. And he said, don't see them. And Ananda said, what if I have to see them? And then Buddha said, don't talk to them. And he said, well, what if I have to talk to them? And the Buddha said, then be mindful. And this is interpreted in the commentary as being in a very, actually, kind of misogynist way. No, I should say it's mistranslated in order to appear misogynist. But Bhante Sujato went back and looked at the commentary, and the commentary actually explained it in terms of inappropriate kinds of socializing, hanging out with families, being involved in idle chit chat like sampapalapa, and that kind of idle socializing is what this is really pointing to. So then, but you should not be disappointed or disturbed or lose confidence if you come across a monk, a bhikkhu or a bhikkhuni, Dhamma teacher who seems to be quite aloof, cool, and detached. They can still be really practicing metta, loving kindness, and really capable of helping, really capable of seeing. It's like among the great Dhamma teachers that we see, Some of them have got that kind of like the warm character. And just when you see them, it's like they're always, they smile and they laugh and they joke and they just make you feel great. And they use that humor and that warmth to make you feel happy. And then with that happiness, you can become open and able to hear the teaching that they have to give. And then there are other kinds of teachers that are more, you could say, instead of being like a warm, being around a cozy campfire, instead it's like a distant star. The monk is cool like a star. But nevertheless, they may be great monks. And if you have the open-mindedness to listen, you can get a great benefit from them. So that's about this asang saga, this being aloof or not gregarious. The next quality that one should have is energy, which is called virya aramba. The aramba part, virya, is energy. And aramba is particularly stirring up, arousing energy, making the effort. And this is especially given in the suttas about the four right efforts, being able to recognize the unwholesome and the wholesome states of mind. And once one is able to distinguish which states are beneficial and which ones are not beneficial, being persistent, strong, energetic in avoiding and cutting off the states that are negative and harmful, and in arousing and cultivating and developing the states that are positive. Then the next three qualities have the word sampada, which means being endowed. So it's sila sampada, samadhi sampada, panya sampada. So that is a sense of being accomplished and complete in the three parts of the training. So if you are trying and struggling to uphold the precepts that you've undertaken, and frequently having slips, and are frequently finding yourself being sort of resistant, or that you don't want to do the right thing, you want to do the wrong thing, this can happen. Or in a moment like when you're surprised that like if a mosquito bites you, you can kill it before you think of it. Or if somebody comes and accuses you and says, did you do that? And if you say, no, I didn't do it, but actually you did it, but just in that moment, like you're shocked and you're like a little child, you say, no, I didn't do it. Like it's this kind of, these are like natural reactions. But if you're still capable of that, then you do not have the sila sampada. When you have become endowed with sila, then you're easily and intuitively able to uphold the precepts that you've undertaken. The precepts become like natural for you. So that's what we're seeking. The same thing though with samadhi. Samadhi includes being skillful with the states of mind. Samadhi includes being mindful and having the satipatthana, being able to discern those foundations that are pointed out by the Buddha, being able to see the rising and falling, and especially being able to obtain immersion by way of jhana, or if you're not yet able to obtain jhana, at least able to get access concentration, what they call access concentration, meaning the mind is significantly stabilized. It's like you've got some of the factors, but it's just not quite home yet. But that momentary concentration can be a good place to do the work. But practicing samadhi is an essential part of the path. Cannot really get a hold of what the Buddha is pointing out without meditation. Just reading books, just listening to Dhamma talks, just doing good merits, just doing good deeds, even just thinking about radiating loving kindness and the divine abidings in all the directions, doing reflections, doesn't really bring you to being endowed with samadhi until you're able to obtain the jhanas, at least the first jhana. Obtaining the jhana has these qualities which make it essential. First of all, the jhana really dispels the temptation of sensual pleasures. Because it's so easy, having seen what it's like to be secluded from that pull towards sensual pleasures, it then is so easy to see the danger. Like if I'm getting my happiness from a piece of chocolate, then tomorrow I just need another piece of chocolate. And you can just see it so clearly that it takes you like far away from the danger of sensual craving, and that's part and parcel with the helping the sila to become even further stabilized, because of that safety, and then with that the mind is so stabilized and so calm that then the impermanence of the activities of the mind becomes so clear and so obvious. It's just possible to see the mind as being simply a process. So then the danger of identifying with any of with the body or the mind is it's fully cared for by wisdom, but you can begin to see impermanence you can really see impermanence. You can really see the arising and cessation. The arising and cessation is so clear. Even this is like the aspect of why, like a mindfulness, sati and samadhi are like working together. So within samadhi, you can see the arising and disappearing of states so clearly, and that seeing the arising and disappearing of states is the rocket gives you the rocket power to launch the wisdom, and then being endowed with wisdom. It seems to be actually it comes down to the three marks that all conditioned things are impermanent. That which is impermanent is not satisfactory, not reliable, not your salvation, cannot be the base for liberation. And that which is impermanent and unreliable and unsatisfactory cannot be identified with as a self. And so it's there are other teachings, especially more commentarial. I may get into that in the coming remainder of this Vasa. It's called Vipassana and Jnana, the different knowledges that come along. And those lists are interesting, but if you want to track them back down to what's in the sutta, it's those three things. And the Buddha taught those three things in his second sermon, the Anatalakkhana Sutta. So 35 years he had to continue giving the same message in 1,000 different ways to people of different capabilities, different abilities, or different stages in their own capacity to pick it up. But that's like the essence of what the wisdom teaching is. So one would say that you've got the panya sampada, you become endowed with morality. To me, I think this would be stream entry or a factor of stream entry. That it's not just that you can see it some of the time, but that you've had that direct realization, so that every place you look, anything that one examines, one can see in terms of those three qualities. Then there's two more factors that a teacher should have to be a good Dhamma teacher. They should be endowed with liberation, vimutti. And this vimutti is very often, you see it in the suttas, in the description when the Buddha or another arahant is describing what happened when they became fully enlightened arahant. And it's given in terms of coming to the destruction of the taints, and then having this vimutti, this freedom, and then the knowledge and vision of freedom. That's the looking back, the perception of freedom. So this is connected with the freedom that an arahant has, but I have seen, I guess maybe this is a point of controversy. Some of the commentary says that all the four stages of the Noble Path, becoming a stream enterer, a once returner, a non-returner, or a fully enlightened arahant, that all of those have the quality of being endowed with vimutti, endowed with freedom. So if it's said in the formal teaching that there are these fetters that are keeping you tied down and trapped in the round of samsara, there's 10 fetters, that with each step of liberation, some of the fetters are destroyed. And so when it's destroyed, you're free. And then the last is vimutti, freedom, jnana dasana, knowing and seeing, sampada, being endowed with the knowledge and vision of freedom. So then now that Dhamma teacher that you're looking for should have the reflective knowledge that they're capable of perceiving what they've experienced, that experience of that liberation, and then having that reflective knowledge, then they're able to speak about it and able to manifest it. So now I have given you a little bit more meat about these 10 ways of teaching that any Dhamma teacher should aspire to. So you can see then that aspiration to be able to realize and embody these qualities is also a real wonderful source of spiritual urgency that would cause any monastic or any Dhamma teacher to want to strive and to obtain as much as they can in this lifetime. Whatever their karma or their paramis, whatever they're capable of accomplishing in this lifetime, the very act of teaching and speaking about this should provide the inspiration, the uplift, and the motivation to drive even the Hiri and Otapa, the conscience and prudence that one would be ashamed in a certain way to speak about the Dhamma without realizing it or without really contemplating and really making the effort. When I came here to the Empty Cloud Monastery, before I came, I had a chance to speak with a couple of the bhikkhu mentors who helped me back in California. And one of my the elder bhikkhus, I had asked whether it would be a good idea for me to give up teaching for a while, to take a break for a few years and to just practice meditation and then teach after that. And this bhikkhu, who knows me well, clearly advised that I should teach and meditate, and then I should meditate, and then I should teach, and I should teach, and I should meditate and teach. And he didn't tell me that I should uphold the precepts, but I think that went without saying, that I should uphold the precepts, purify the mind, meditate, and teach, and uphold the precepts, and meditate, and purify the mind. And that is one of the patterns. Every monk does not have to be a Dhamma teacher, but for those who have that inclination, it's a very good way to make progress in the path. So now I'll see if there's any questions. Welcome, Janaki, Bisu Brahmani, Bhumika Anyani, Ronald Tan, Gregory, and Sudha. So far, I'm not seeing any questions about this teaching. So if there's no questions, you can come again in the tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock in California time and hear the rest of the sutta. And if you think of a question afterwards, you can give it in the morning. So we can close. We can say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.